multiverse theory, simulation theory, or all this, or time infinitely repeating in loops. All this has happened before and will happen again. It seems we should assume that. I mean, why not, right? If our Big Bang could happen, it could happen again. Where, when, outside of this is all, outside of whatever the boundaries are to this reality or universe or long-term shared conscious identity. Some people don't want to believe it. Is it because that they're naturally reductive people they are? Or are they just protecting their mental energies? They're not good reasons to discredit it. They are good reasons to not bother with it. You can make a pragmatic argument that's strong that it doesn't bloody well matter if there are other universes, or that if we live in a simulation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference to us. As soon as it does, we would just wrap all of that up into this universe and make it part of the knobs and levers, of how we do live. As soon as it does matter to us, it will matter. That's a strong pragmatic view, and I think actually it's a really good one. And you shouldn't, you should only spend long enough thinking about the multiverse theory to figure out how to apply that knowledge to our understanding and our options for control of this reality. Where's the beef? What's the upshot? No, I don't see any. I've never seen a good reason why they're not all concurrently true. It's easy for me to believe in just about everything being concurrently true, because I have a natural advantage / handicap in life of not having much truck with boundaries of any kind. I think they're all a bit made up, artificial. I'm very much guilty of a terminally open mind in many respects. Like a fortress with its gates unbarred and unguarded and open mind. Anyway, so simulation theory, you can look at the arguments for that. It's quite plausible. If there are simulated universes, it's likely that we would just be another one of them rather than the original one ever, which is, you should already have a misgiving about A, that being at all likely, or B, if there ever really was one, because separately, but not entirely not meta separately, let's assume that we are just one physical matter universe, matter and energy. They have to admit the existence of energy. I mean, matter's not real, only energy is, kinda, but whatever. Wherever you draw the boundary of this universal reality, you can say, well, all of this is happening again, or has happened again outside of it. Now, you can describe the mechanical, the empirical frame in certain ways, like simulations or physical universes. But what we're really driving at is different experiences, different phenomena, which, and this is important for a lot of people to be reminded of, you can't have experiences without experiencing beings. There can't be. It doesn't mean anything to say there's other universes unless at some point there will ever be an experience of that. Anyway, So yeah, other universes, whether they're other universes, how and simulations, and the same universe repeating, all seem to be true at the same time to me. I've never seen a good argument against any of them, and I don't find any of them contradictory, because what they are trying to say is where you draw the lines, those lines are not real. Yeah. All of this has happened before and will happen again, and is happening right now. Somewhere else, sometime else. That seems, by many different angles of attack, hard to deny or discredit. That's one general point. You should hold those possibilities as more than just open and possible, but actually more likely than not. It seems to me, I'm going to say actually, I want to say much stronger that that's definitely the case. But just begin with saying that you have to accept the simulation theory on rational grounds, and not just, I want to say, extrapolated empirical grounds. On not just phenomenological grounds, on rational grounds, simulation theory at least is far more likely than not. Begin there, and actually a lot more to all of that. That's roughly point one. Okay, so you should be predisposed more to believe in all of this than not. Secondly, you should be predisposed to not waste much time on these things until they're accept to see how useful they can be. Okay, truth has to be useful as well. It has to, now the truth will say that, well, if we work on the truth, its usefulness comes out across time in the aggregate. That's also true and useful. So I'm not going to pin someone down if they can't immediately in 5 minutes make a bottom line argument for whether or not we should waste time on the multiverse theory. Okay, I'm not that philosophically anti-theory at all, clearly. But I would say once you've tried to figure out the consequences, the upshots of believing in different possibilities. If this is all there is, what does that mean? If all of this is infinitely happening and will happen again, and this happened before, what does that mean? What does that mean? But here's what I'll say then for the final point is, I think that you need to believe. I think an incredible value from multiverse theory, simulation theory, time is a infinitely repeating flat circle. All those things can help you better understand consciousness, better understand what reality really is, which is a subjective phenomenological stream, right? It's they are important for helping understand the contingent nature of ego consciousness and point identity. Now, this is not me entirely, this is of course the likes of Alan Watts and many others besides, and the Indian tradition and a lot else. But I think most smart people or worldly wise people in one way or another understand that death is not in itself something to be feared as an experience. To all intents and purposes, you know, if you take a Star Trek teleporter and you are killed and a perfect copy is produced, actually that's no difference than if you're perfectly transported. Okay, this is very important. That's the point you need to understand. There's no difference between those two subjectively. You think there will be, you're wrong. And all of this, that's what I want. That is what I think is the useful territory to begin to understand by taking multiverse theory seriously, or simulation theory seriously, or all this has happened before, it's going to happen again seriously, is to understand that when you are unconscious, you are dead. Yeah? Not medically, biologically, but from the point of view of your subjective experience of life, there is nothing. There's not even nothing. I've said this a lot of times to people, you know, part of getting over the fear of death is there's not even the thing that you think you're afraid of, because you've not actually thought it through. You don't understand there's not even nothing. That's why there's nothing to be afraid of. There's not even the nothing that isn't really a nothing that you call nothing to be afraid of, because you're imagining there's something, but there's not even that. It's just woof off, and then you think not on again. You're afraid of that. Now, what am I driving at? There's a different way to, you know, I'm coming from the outside in on this, and the usual way is to go from the, you know, to start where you are and reduce down to see this truth. I tend to reverse engineer everything. I understand, it's just my psychology as a weird ADHD. But however you do it, what you're going to eventually arrive at is that before the biologically and psychologically necessary and useful ego identity that you have, there's just the phenomenological stream of subjective consciousness, which is, more to the point, universal and eternal. Okay? Now, I'll leave it at that. See if you can synthesize this. Whoever's watching, see if you can synthesize this, because I can't, you know, I've evolved to past the point. I can't just tell you death is an illusion and the fear of death is a waste of time. I can't just tell you simulation theory, etc., is both true and useless. There's more subtleties than that. But you know, you need to begin with these things. You've got to divide it into block chunks before you can start to fine grain and sort out and go, actually a little bit more should be on this side and this side, and it's not just these sides, and there's more layers, and the devil's in the details, because all of this is abstract and conceptual. But do understand that the fundamental subjective experience that really matters, that is what you would value the most people would value the most about their own lives, is what is always going to happen again, exactly the same way it's happening for you now, exactly. And that this thisness, there's an encapsulation that you value because of you being only you, the complete opposite of you, that you're the only one of this ever, and you've got to do everything you can to protect it. That's comes second. And even that is going to be repeated in exactly the same way. Now, it exists to contradict that notion. It's point, ego, identity, consciousness, or it's there to protect you from death. It's an evolved self-diagnostic thing to, fear exists to keep you alive because the machine is trying to, because you've evolved to try to stay alive. It's not about truth, it's about replication. My own point of view, getting too subtle, getting lost in the detail. For most people, they need to learn that death is nothing to be afraid of. And then later you need to learn again that actually it's useful to be afraid of it, and that's part of the whole deal. But because the word I, you, when you say it, all of that is sort of an illusion, and that's a hard but important first thing to learn. When I think trying to get a good sense of priorities and metaphysics, and physics is a useful way of observing that from the outside in. Waffle. This is not the kind of thing where you really, really have to take a lot of time to do a really good essay about. So unfortunately, I'm not going to. I admit that this is an important subject that I failed to not waffle over, but it would have been an ambitious one to just sort of do in one take without waffling. Take what you can.